Hey guys, okay, so what I wanted to do here was to bring up the sample practice test that Pearson publishes on their website. I've linked it in the course, I've linked it on Facebook, um, and I want to actually go ahead and walk you through me taking this test and doing kind of think alouds, which is actually another great strategy for your students. And so that you can understand my thought process, why some questions or possible answers are right, why some are wrong, and hopefully it will also add to your content knowledge or understanding of all of this as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. We're going to start with question number 1. We're going to do the first 5, and I'm going to highlight and use some tools here so that you can see kind of what we're doing. All right, so let's take a look at number 1. See, you can get it all there. Okay, I'm going to use some tools here. Make sure that I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's read the first one. A 6th grader who is advanced in most areas of reading has difficulty completing assigned reading selections. He appears motivated when he begins reading, but he has difficulty keeping his attention on the task at hand. Which of the following would be his teacher's best initial strategy for addressing the difficulty? So the first thing I notice is I want to talk about the initial strategy. There may be more than one strategy here, but I want to know, what do I do first? And there might be some that are okay, but I want to choose the best one. I also always like to take note of the age or grade of the student. We have a 6th grader here, and he's advanced, if you'll notice, in most areas of reading. He just has a difficult time keeping his attention so that he can finish the task. So those are some important things to know. So let's see what our choices are. First, we have A, adapting the students' reading assignments to reduce their complexity and level of cognitive challenge. So is that a good strategy under the circumstances? And honestly, I would say no. This student doesn't need to reduce the complexity. Remember, this student is advanced. They need to figure out a plan to get the work done. So I would throw A out. B, telling the student that his grades will be based in part on his ability to improve his concentration when he works on reading assignments. I don't like this one. It sounds a little bit like blackmail. So I would throw B out as well. C, breaking down the student's reading assignments into small steps and helping him learn to monitor his own attention and progress. Okay, I like this one. This is a possibility. Let's see what D has to offer. Managing the student's reading assignments so that he generally has only one to work on at any one given time. So we've got 2 here that are possibilities. And so the question is, what do we do first, and what do we do that is going to be best for this particular student? And I would say that our best choice here is C. And really C, because we're going to give this student at the beginning the opportunity to monitor himself, and I really like that. We're going to break the assignments into chunks, and he can monitor his own attention. Now that's empowering. D is more of, we're going to do it for him. So I like C as your choice here. Okay, let's go to number 2. When creating lesson plans to promote specific reading skills, a teacher should make sure that what? Well, let's first of all highlight what's important. We're talking about promoting reading skills. What do we need to do when we're planning lessons? So it says each planned activity for students is designed to strengthen 2 or more specific reading skills. You know, to me, that sounds like it can be a little overwhelming. Every activity to strengthen 2 skills, you know, it really depends on the progress of the student. So I'm going to say I'm leaning toward no on that one. B, the targeted reading skills relate to an appropriate instructional progression and reflect students' needs. Okay, this is a possibility. I like the fact that we're talking about an instructional progression. That means things build on one another in a systematic way, and that we're focusing in on what the students need. So I like this one so far. Let's check the others. Each planned activity connects students' reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. Okay, that sounds a little overwhelming, and I want to go back to my question. We're focusing here on the reading skills. I don't want to wrap all these other things in. It's too broad, so I'm going to say no. And then D, the targeted reading skills are grade appropriate and taught to all students using the same instructional method. This is a big no for me because we're talking about it's grade appropriate, which is great, but not all students are going to be reading at grade level. And it says here we're going to use the same method for all students. Anytime you see the word all students, that's a real big, question mark there. I'm always a little leery of those. All students do not use the same instructional method, so I'm throwing that one out. So our best answer here is B. The targeted reading skills relate to the appropriate instructional progression and reflect the student need. Now, and as I'm getting ready to find 3, anytime you have a question about any of these, please leave me a comment and let me see if I can help clarify any more. Or if something gets cleared up for you, I'd like to know that too. All right, number 3. An early elementary teacher could most effectively support at-home reading. Okay, so we're trying to help parents here. We're supporting at-home reading, and we're talking about primary teachers because we're talking about early elementary teachers. What do we do to support at-home reading? Sending parents and guardians a regular newsletter describing classroom reading activities. Although I like this, is that the best method for supporting at-home reading? Maybe. Let's leave it and see. B, sharing with parents and guardians important articles from professional reading journals. This is a big no to me because teachers tend to have our own language, and giving them a professional reading journal is going to go way over a typical parent's head. So this is a no. That is not going to help support at-home reading. C, recommending books that parents and guardians would likely enjoy reading with their children. Now, I like this because this is joyful for everybody. Let's see. D, providing parents and guardians with periodic reports on their children's progress in reading. I do think this is important, but is this the best way to incorporate and support reading at home? Probably not. So I think our best answer here is C. We want to get those parents to have some routines and enjoy reading with their students at home. Let's go to 4. A 6th grade teacher wants to ensure that the classroom reading environment supports content area learning for the English learners in class. Which of the following strategies is likely to be most effective in addressing this objective? Okay, so let's focus in on what we need to know. We're talking about content area learning for English learners. And we know that when we are studying for a competency exam, the English learners are one of the important profiles that we need to know how to address. And we are looking for the strategy that will be most effective in helping our English learners with this. So A, replacing classroom content area books with simpler text in the same subjects that that the English learners can understand more readily. Okay, so a couple of red flags here. We're talking about replacing the content area books, not supplementing. Not so much. And we are talking about giving them simpler text with the same subjects. That word replacing is what's hanging me up here. I'm going to lean toward a no. Let's see the rest. B, providing English learners with grade level English only content area books to promote academic language. We definitely want to promote academic language, but a couple of concerning red flags. The fact that we're going to just give them grade level text. As we know, our classes are full of students that are all reading on level. So I'm leaning toward a no here. C, making available in the classroom content area text at various levels that supplement and reinforce the information presented in the students' textbooks. Okay, I'm liking this one a lot. We've got various levels so everybody can get what they need. We're talking about supplementing and reinforcing, which is really good. We're not replacing anything. So far I'm liking this one. D, setting up an area in the classroom where students can go to reread the content area textbook quietly and independently. The problem with reading quietly and independently for English learners is they may be reading the words but not understanding what they're reading. So this one, it'd be nice to have that, but I still think our best answer is definitely C. Let's go to our final one for this video. 5. Of the following questions, which would be most important for a teacher to consider when interpreting the results of a reading assessment? So we're talking about clearly a Domain 1 question, interpreting the results of a reading assessment. Now, notice that we don't know what kind of assessment this is. We don't know if it's a unit test, but because we're using the word assessment as a reading assessment, then I'm thinking it's measuring reading skills. So A, how did the student's performance on this assessment compare with that of the student's classmates? And as teachers we do ask those questions, so that's a possibility. Let's keep going. Are these findings sufficient to assign a grade to the student's performance? Well, if we're talking about like a skills assessment, which means we just kind of want to know where they're at, grades aren't important to assign to that. We wouldn't be doing that. So I'm leaning toward a no. C, how did these findings relate to the student's performance on other recently administered reading assessments? Okay, this is a possibility because now I'm looking at multiple sources of information to get a better look at that student's learning profile. D, do these findings provide information about the student's ranking in regard to national norms of reading achievement? Well, I'm trying as a teacher to make a plan that's going to best help this student. So my best answer would be how the student performed on all of the other tests. And really this one is because we all know that one test does not give us a good measure. We need multiple sources of information, and so that one does address that. Okay, so that's our first video, our first 5. Let me know if this is helpful. Any other clarifications, just ask. I'm happy to address those. All right, and we will see you on the next one.